You ever finish a sales call and think, yeah, that went well, and then the lead just ghosted you? In your mind, you're saying, I'm sure I didn't fuck that up. Well, you probably did to some degree, but that's not likely what happened. The fact is you lost the sale because somewhere along the way, you fucked up the process. You either missed something didn't click, or the potential client just smelt your desperation. And let's be honest, it probably stinks pretty bad. Because when a sales call hits right, it's not just you who feels it, they feel it too. They buy, they thank you, they then show up the next day ready to go. But when it doesn't hit, they're gone. And all you're left with is another DM, I'll think about it. And I know this feeling because I've taken over 50,000 sales calls in our fitness business. And I'm telling you right now, most of the time, the problem isn't your offer, it's the structure of the call itself. You see, what I found is there are 5 crucial moments either that lock the sale in or lose it completely. 5 checkpoints, 5 opportunities to get it right, and 5 reasons the potential lead either buys or you get left feeling like another fat dude in a strip club rejected. Let me walk you through them. Checkpoint number 1 is trust. Now, what I found is you have around 7 seconds to gain it or lose it. That's literally all it takes for them to decide whether they trust you or whether they're gonna smile and nod their way through the next 20 minutes with no intention of ever buying anything. And most of the time, you're probably blowing it before you've even said your name properly. You're too keen, you're too chatty. You're like that annoyingly happy guy on the street trying to hand you a flyer. Piss off. If you sound like you need the sale, you've already lost. Here's how to tighten it up. Firstly is speak slowly and then also clearly. Next is using an authoritative tone. So you don't want to let the other person control the conversation. You always want to be trying to control the narrative. So you want to be quite stern, quite firm, and be very direct in terms of your conversation and your questioning. And the last thing I see a lot of people do is you don't want performance and hype. Because one of the big mistakes a lot of people do is they're almost like a performing dancing monkey on sales calls. This is not the goal. The goal is to almost like, imagine you're like a doctor's consultation. This is a fairly serious conversation because it's about someone's health, about someone's business. You're not like a performing dancing monkey in a comedy club. Now, to be radically transparent, I talk way too fast and I have to really consciously slow myself down. Talking on this video right now, I'm actually like minus like 0.5 speed of how quickly my brain goes. Now, one of the quick things I'd give you in terms of how you can build trust, and this is what I like to call the sleepy granddad approach. And this is very, very sneaky because most people think you're gonna come out selling from the gates. Now, what you wanna focus on actually doing is getting the other person to relax. So the way I would handle any sales call at the beginning is to be like, okay, Mike, awesome, thanks for jumping on. Transparently, I don't know if we can really help you. I don't know much about you yet, but I guess we're gonna kind of find out. Like, I've never found anyone I can't help, but you could be the first, I could be completely stumped. And that's a really good way to put them back, be like, whoa, like, I wasn't expecting that. Because you've actually told someone coming to sales call, you're not sure if you can help them. So what that actually does, it reduces sales resistance and makes them feel more comfortable. And you try and do it in a fairly like jovial turn to a slight degree to get them to calm down. And this is one of the quickest way you get trust because you need to get people to drop the wall and drop the guard so they start to open up. Now, as you go through the call at the beginning, you want to set out an initial framework of basically what you're going to discuss. Now, why this is important is it shows your authoritative tone that you're going to be the person in control of the actual conversation. Because what you will find a lot of the time is that prospects will try and take you off on random tangents and talk about the fucking dog and their cat, whereas the reality is you want to try and keep them on the straight line of the exact pain points you want to be talking about. Because when people start to get uncomfortable, they start trying to change the subject. And that's where you have to be quite direct and pulling people back to the real things you're talking about. One huge mistake I see a lot of people on sales calls is they hype themselves up and they try and think they're fucking Jordan Belfort from Wolf of Wall Street. The reality is you do not need to hype yourself up to like a huge degree. You need to be calm, you need to be calculated, and you need to be certain in terms of actually what you're going to do. And if you use this kind of a granddad approach at the beginning and quite a relaxed tonality at the start, that will help the other person start to relax. Because what happens is you mirror each other. So if you're hyped up at the beginning and like all guns blazing, their sales resistance goes up and they're like high alert. Now, what you want to try and do is get them to relax. And as the call goes on, you start to sharpen up and become more direct. And you can do that in terms of your body language. So at the start of sales call, you can almost sit back, be quite relaxed. And as you start coming forward and asking more direct questions, you start to lean forward and be more direct to the camera. The most important thing you need with everything you do with body language and the words you say and your tonality is certainty. Because when you sound certain, they follow. And once they trust you, now we can get to the good stuff. You see, there's no point pitching someone who's never going to buy in the first place. So before anything else, I make sure I'm not wasting my time. And that leads us on to checkpoint 2, time and money. I sell to people who are serious, not window shoppers. I want buyers, decisive people, people with skin in the game early. So I qualify hard from out the gate in the call. Now, what is important to me is firstly, that before they get to the call, the setters have done a fair amount of this qualification process. So you don't want Karen, who's on benefits, who's got 15 kids coming onto a sales call and wasting your time. So this is a key part of the process to make sure that you don't have this type of thing coming to sales calls. The second thing I do is I actually will assess everything as soon as they come onto the call. So I can give you a great example of a sales call I took last week. So I take 5 to 6 sales calls in my business, and one of the reasons per week, and the reason why I do that is because I'd have a player coach role in my business. So I sell and I train our team in terms of the way I sell. Now, I had a guy come onto a sales call and he looked like he was 4 minutes late. So if anyone's late, I'm like, well, you're a fucking twat. So I automatically do not like you, and that's not respectful to the person you're taking a call with. So that's a big red flag of like, hey, this is a negative, bad prospect. The second thing happened, he is then also in his car. So I am then even more like, this is a terrible prospect, another minus point. He also looks like he's just fucking woken up out of bed and looks incredibly scruffy. So how is he presented? Again, another minus point. So out the gate, I'm like, this is not a good lead. So then I ask him, like, I looked at his profile beforehand, and this is something you want to do to actually save yourself time and money, is review people's social media. Now, I looked at his content, and he hadn't posted for 2 months. So one of the first things I asked him was, how come you haven't posted the last 2 months? He's like, well, I've been really busy, I haven't had time. I was like, okay, cool. So like, what have you been doing? He's like, well, I've just been busy. I was like, busy doing what? And he's like, well, I've had like a wedding every other week to go through. So I was like, okay, cool. So that's like 2 days out of the month. Like, what the fuck are you doing the rest of the time? He's just like, oh, I've been busy with life. I was like, is this a priority for you in your business right now to grow? He's like, not really. I was like, okay. And he's like, well, my business is doing really well, it's booming. I was like, okay, so define booming. And he was like, oh, I'm making 10K a month. I was like, okay, cool. So how long have you been making 10K a month for? And he'd been making 10K a month for 4 years. So his business had been stuck at the same level for 4 years. And this is where I'm like, okay, this guy is clearly a waste of time, and this is not a qualified buyer. This is someone who I need to let go. And what you want to do in this type of scenario, when you have someone come in who isn't a good prospect, is politely be like, look, to be honest with you, this isn't the right time for you right now. Here's a YouTube video, here's a long form piece of content, here's some fucking lead magnet you can use. Go and take this. When you're ready to take this seriously, then come back to us. And this will save you a lot of time and a lot of hassle, and also is a good way for you to actually empower your own mindset to think you can disqualify people you do not want to work with. Because for us, that's the epitome of the exact type of client we don't want to work with. Now, to talk about the opposite side of this, I bought tickets to go to Alex Ramoji's workshop last year, and it was $5,000. And I had to book a call to be able to qualify for it. I was like, the guy messaged me, I was like, dude, I don't need a call, just send me the payment link, I'll just buy it. And then they made me get on the phone call. They were like, you need to watch this video before getting on the call. So I turned up on the sales call. I was actually in Courchevel, France at the time. And the guy, I can't remember what his name was, he was like, have you watched the video with Layla about the events? I was like, no. And he's like, I'm going to get off the call. You have to watch the video now and then get back on the call. I was like, for fuck's sake. So I get off the call, off Zoom, watch this video for 2 minutes, and then I call him back. And then I'm just paying straight away. So like, I'm probably like the warmest buyer if I ever come into some type of buying scenario, because generally I've already made a decision before I'm even coming onto the call, because I'm incredibly decisive. I'm quite impulsive, and that is where I'm a prospect. If I come onto anyone's pipeline, I'm there just to buy. And I think that's where, if you look at the most successful people, the main thing they actually have is decisiveness in terms of when it comes to making a decision. And this is what you actually want to be looking for people, is how can you get people to be decisive and remove their own limiting beliefs. Because I don't have a weak mindset, I don't have limiting beliefs. If I can see the potential value in something, I'm just gonna fucking do it. So the real thing you actually need to really ascertain from someone is if they're serious, and try and open up the pain gap from where they are now to where they wanna be, and see if they respond to that. And one of the easiest ways to do this is understand like psychological profiling. So if you look at like men, women, how can you psychologically trigger someone to realize like, oh, 10K a month and your business booming and you've been doing it for 4 years isn't actually successful. And I talk about stories of our clients who are 24, 25, making $200,000 a month. That might be defined as booming, because no one invests in fixing something they don't even feel. And most of your prospects haven't felt it properly yet. Checkpoint number 3, clarity. This is where we stop being polite and start telling the truth. People don't buy because they're kind of frustrated. They buy when it's costing them something real. So you really need to fucking press on it and stick the knife in and go for it. How long has this been going on? What is this going to cost you if nothing changes? What is this going to look like in 12 months' time if you keep adding 5 to 10 pounds a month in body weight? If your business goes back 5 to 10%, what's that going to look like? What's your wife going to think? What are your families going to think? Can you provide for your family at that point? What are your kids going to think when they're 18 and they've got a fat dad and they look up to him and they go to sports games, they're slightly ashamed? How's that going to make you feel? Do you think this is going to be more difficult to solve in 12 months if you do nothing, or if you try and solve it right now? If you solved this 12 months ago, would it be easier to have solved it then than it would be to solve it now? The answer is always yes. And that's where one of the best things you want to say to people is like, the best time to start this was like yesterday, last year, the second best time is right fucking now. And that's where you want to get people to commit and understand that they're paying either way. They're paying in money or they're paying in time, and time is the most valuable thing they will never get back. Now, the key thing you want is people to be grounded and present when you do ask these questions. So one of the key things you have to do is when you ask a very deep and dark question, is very direct to the point of what's going to happen in 12 months' time if your business goes back 10% a month. You pause and you let them think, you let it digest, because it adds more emphasis to what you say, adds more weight. What's your daughter going to think when you're the fat dad who's 400 pounds and you turn up to a high school prom? How's she going to feel? How will you feel? How are you going to feel next summer when you go on vacation to Hawaii and you feel embarrassed to take your top off? Probably not great. You can afford the $30,000 holiday, but would it be worth you spending $3,000 to get a body you can actually be proud of so you can enjoy it there? And then pause. You let that sink in and let it really divulge. The other thing I'd also say is when you ask people very direct questions, one of the best things you can always ask is this: anything else? Because what you need to do, people will give you the top surface layer of the iceberg. Now, what you actually want to do is you want to keep asking deeper and deeper questions so you find out the real pain points people have. So this is where you're doing anything else. What specifically do you want to know more about that? Why do you want to do this? Keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and you'll actually get the real answer. Because what you want to do is find out this, the deep driving emotion that is actually wanting them to get the desired outcome. So why do you want to get abs and have a six-pack? Why do you want to have a business that makes you 100K a month? Like, what is the actual reason why? Okay, so you want abs because you want to go, you want to be looking great shape when you go to Marbella with your mates. Why? Because all your friends are in great shape. Okay, cool. So why does it matter if your friends are in great shape and you're not? Well, they get all the women at the beach clubs. Okay, cool. So the actual reason is you want to get in shape because you want to get women. Is it because you want to get a partner or a wife? Yes, that's what I want to get. Okay, cool. So actually the reason you want to get in shape isn't because the abs, it's because you want to get a partner. But that's where the abs and getting in shape is the surface level thing. And this is where you have to understand the deeper level questions. You have to keep going down. And this is where one of the things I'd think about for you is using curiosity. So think about like childlike curiosity, where you just ask questions with a curious tone. Now, the key thing of why you want people to be present and fully open and you have sales resistance low is you can ask these type of direct questions. Now, your goal isn't to offend people, but it's get people to actually connect dots in their own head that this problem isn't going away and it's going to get worse. And what they're currently doing isn't actually helping them get to where they want to be. And a great framework to use this would be, for example, if you've got a guy who wants to get in shape and they've been working out at the gym for 3-4 times a week for the last 10 years, cool. So I'd be like, Charlie, you're 35 right now. Were you in better shape at 25 than you were at 35? They're gonna be like, yeah, okay, cool. So you have spent the last 10 years going to the gym 3 to 4 times a week to look worse. How does that make you feel? And then they'll be like, oh, fuck, I kind of see your point. So the reality is you have to let them understand that what they're currently doing right now isn't working. And it's actually getting worse and worse and worse. So the reality is, Charlie, if you're 35 now, when you're 45, you're going to be in worse shape by doing what you're doing right now. So the definition of insanity from Albert Einstein is doing the same thing over and over again, yet expecting to get a different result. And that's what you've been doing for the last 10 years. You now have a choice of what you do for the next 10 years. And that's potentially to work with us, and we can completely transform your life in 6 to 12 months. And the reality is your definition of where you were at 45 can be very, very different from your current path. And that's how you actually future pace ahead from what people have done from a fear of the past, and also where they're going in the future will create anxiety if they're not sure about what to do and they're worried it's getting worse. You can give them the clarity and the confidence to fix that problem. So the key thing you want to do is you want to get people present. And that's when they're ready for the solution. And I mean a real fucking solution, not a pitch. Not your program's features, not a fucking list of benefits like you're reading the back of a cereal box, a real one. So next checkpoint we have is value. Here's how I explain what I do. You told me you have this problem, it's costing you roughly 5K a month. I can guarantee we can solve you this in 4 months. And what we do is we guarantee you'll make your investment back. And this is what's called a self-liquidating offer. So the prospect has no risk of actually joining us. And that's actually what we do at 7 Figure Scaling Systems. We have a self-liquidating offer where our job is to help you make the money by working with us so you have no financial risk. And that's value. It's not just you get 3 calls a week in a WhatsApp group. People don't want stuff like that. They want actual tangible results. So I speak to what actually changes. You'll then stop guessing. You'll stop spinning your wheels. And most importantly, you'll start winning again, which is the whole point of your business, is to get you to win, to make dollar bills, and also change your clients' lives. And that's what they're paying for. Now, the key thing you actually have to understand with value and what people actually pay for is the most valuable thing that people have in their lives, and that is time. So your job is to explain to people how you save them time. Maybe they are working out less, maybe they're having to do less meal prep. How can you streamline the process as much as possible? And what you actually want to do, and a framework I like, is you eliminate the guesswork. Because all they then have to do is do this very simple thing, which is to be held accountable to do what most people struggle with and what actually they need to pay for, which is to execute. Because you don't get paid for information and planning, you get paid for execution, and that's a key thing that you need to help your clients with fitness, and that's a key thing we help our clients crush it with and scale their business from the actual fitness coaching. So on the previous checkpoint, we're talking about clarity, we're pushing on negative emotions and pain points. Here, what we're doing, we look at the positives, and what we actually want to do is we want to future pace. So like, what will life look like when you're going on holiday to Hawaii and you've got the body you want and you're comfortable to take your t-shirt off? Or you go to Marbella to the beach club and all the girls flock to you because you look the best, or whatever the fuck your goal is. Like, future pace the person in their head, and you actually want to get them to visualize that. Now, one of the best ways you can future pace in terms of a question that I love is this. So, Mike, in, let's say the end of December, you and me are sitting down. What's your favorite meal and favorite restaurant? And he's going to say it's the Cheesecake Factory, and he likes the tenderloin steak, and then the filet mignon steak, and the Oreo extreme cheesecake. I'm like, okay, cool. So we're sitting at the Cheesecake Factory in JBR in Dubai. We're having a filet mignon steak, and then we're also having an Oreo extreme cheesecake. What does your business look like? What does your life look like? He is visually putting himself there and thinking about what his life is looking like. And that's a huge thing you want to do that helps with future pacing, because it gets people to dream ahead of where they are. And this is how we initially want to use negatives and then also positives to pull people to where they want to be in a sales process. And that's actually what they're paying for. When you get those bits right, the next bit is super easy and is walk in the park. And now we're here, the decision. And this is where most people shit their pants. If you've done everything right, this part shouldn't be hard. I don't handle objections at the end. What you want to do is you want to slay these beforehand. I remove them from the beginning at the start of the call and in the actual discovery phase. So when it comes to helping make a decision, there's only 4 objections anyone can have. And these are pretty conclusive all the time. So one is going to be time. The other is going to be self-belief. And then we are going to have spouse. And then we are going to have finances, money. So these are the only reasons someone will not make a decision to buy. If someone is telling you that they need to think about it, that is a smokescreen, because they actually have all the information and you're on the call with them. So our goal of actually, before we get to checkpoint 5, is you want to nail these down and have these off the chessboard before you get to this point. So the way I would do this, firstly, if we tackle the big gorilla in the room, if you've got a big missus, is a spouse. So, or dude, if it's a girl. So the reality is, with the spouse objection, the most important thing you have to do on every single sales call is do these 2 things. You want to get partner's name and then kid's name. Now, what you want to do is you want to use these during the conversation, because who uses your family members' names? Trusted people, doctors, lawyers, all those types of things. So when you start to then ask, okay, cool, so Mike, you married? Yeah, I'm married. Awesome. Would your wife, Jenny, be opposed to you getting in better shape? Now, this word opposed is incredibly powerful. And you say this earlier on in the conversation because opposed is directly against. He can't say, well, his wife is against him. That's very, very difficult. So I'm basically forcing him to agree with me. And this is one of the easy ways to then box off the spouse objection earlier on in the call, is to ask, is your partner in agreement with you getting in better shape or building your business or doing this thing? Now, if you come to the back end of the call and then the partner says, he brings up, well, I need to speak to Jenny because we run all financial decisions past each other. I'd be like, cool, dude, I completely respect that, Mike. That's such a good relationship to have. But I imagine if you go to like Starbucks, you're gonna have to ask permission to buy a coffee. So like, what's the threshold in terms of like, you're allowed to spend your own money without asking your wife's permission? Now that's a big fucking reframe, because he's like, oh shit. If he's the man who's earning the money and then he's having to ask his wife if he can spend the money he earns, that's suddenly drawn his head. That's very emasculating. That's going to make him probably more impulsive to make a decision. The second thing I would also say when it comes to this type of framework is what you're going to do if she says no. Well, I'm just going to do it anyway. Well, awesome, dude, because that's exactly what I would do. Like, I would rather beg for forgiveness than ask for permission. So if you can do it anyway, we might as well just do it now, and then we can just deal with the aftermath afterwards. Like, she's going to be happy when you're in great shape and when you go to Hawaii anyway, right? So that's kind of how I would try and handle that scenario. But you want to not be too aggressive with that. But you want to try and deal with it earlier on in the call. Now, the partners and the kids' names is huge emotional leverage you can use later on. Now, we talk about time. People are like, oh, I don't have enough time to do this. I'm worried how much this can take. But like, you actually want to find out earlier on in the call, like how much time you're spending working out, how much time you're spending on your business, like whatever the thing is. And you realize you're like, okay, cool. So you actually already putting time into this. They're already saying they have the time and they're doing it. And then your job actually as a coach is you sell them on how you save them time. So you knock that objection off. Now, self-belief is a big one. And a lot of people won't say that. But what you want to do in the call is find some area of their life that they've been successful in. So we're like, okay, awesome. So you've crushed it in terms of you used to be a professional skateboarder. So like you clearly have a lot of confidence and you've got high levels of skill and you're coachable and you can learn things. I imagine you've got self-belief that you believe you can get in shape, right? Or you believe you can build a business. They can say yes. So we've knocked this one off. And then the last objection always going to get is generally going to be finances, which people use as smokescreen. So one of the easiest ways to handle this is earlier in the discovery phase is ask, okay, cool. So you've been looking to lose 50 pounds for the last 5 years. What have you done previously to try and do this? Okay, I've tried ketogenic diets. I've tried multiple personal trainers. I've tried Equinox. I've looked to get plastic surgery. I've tried all these types of things. Okay, cool. So they've already invested in trying to solve this problem. And I would actually ask them, I have interest, like Charlie, how much do you think you've spent so far in trying to like lose the 50 pounds? They'd be like $20,000. Cool. So you have a price anchor in terms of what they've already spent. And this then gives you more leverage later on in the call. And what you want to try and do is ascertain like where else are they spending their money. So for example, if they say in the conversation they go on holiday to Disneyland 2 times a year, that's quite expensive, and they've got kids because you found out Jenny, his wife, and they've got 2 kids, Mikhail and James, whatever their names are. You know that they're spending money. So if they're then like, oh, I don't have the money, it's like $3,000 is a lot, I would then reframe it and be like, okay, Mike, so what's more valuable for you? Another trip to fucking Disneyland, or respectfully, like you losing the 50 pounds and you being confident in yourself and actually happy with who you are for the next 10 years? Because I know which is going to have a great impact in life, and I see this over and over and over again. You told me you've already been to Disneyland 12 times. The 13th time is probably not that make much difference, but you dropping 50 pounds is probably going to change your entire life. Would you say that's fair? And that's a huge way to try and compare where they're currently spending the finances. The second thing I would do when it comes to a financial objection is ideally what we teach is to sell up front. So let's say it was $3,000 for 6 to 12 months. What I would then do if they said that that's too expensive, I can't afford it, but like, okay, cool. What would work for you today if we could try and figure something out? Like if I can be creative and get this to work, and I'm willing to do that because I really like you, I really respect that you want to get in shape for your partner Jenny, and you want to have confidence when you go on holiday to Hawaii. Like I really want you to see, I want you to send me a photo of you on holiday in Hawaii in great shape with your wife Jenny and being really fucking happy. I would be absolutely pumped. I'm happy to be creative and get this to work for you on 2 caveats. 1, you do as a video review. 2, you do a review in a Facebook group or you can refer a friend. And then we can try and find a creative way to split this up to maybe get it to work for you. Like what would work for you? And then try and offer it to them like that so that there's like a reframe. So there's like a value exchange. And one of the most powerful words you can say is, does that sound fair? Because you're giving them something and they're giving you something back. But it's actually a one-sided exchange because what they're giving you back is also going to help you grow your business in terms of referrals and reviews. Now, where a lot of people make this incredibly awkward and also really fuck up the decision point is they do this. And this is actually something that is an old school sales thing, which is absolutely stupid. And it's the first person to talk loses. Now, this is absolutely retarded. Now, what I then see people doing is this. They're doing a sales call on Zoom and they're like, it's $3,000. And they're just staring intently into the camera and it's really fucking awkward and no one says anything and they're just sitting there waiting. Now, what you actually want to do is you want to invite the person to start. So, and you want to give them time to basically process how much this is going to cost, how it all works. The way you do that would be like this. Okay, Mike, so it's $3,000 for 6 months. Essentially what we do is you would have an onboarding call with Chris. He will map out your entire nutrition and training program beforehand. He will run you through everything on the call to make sure it all makes sense and you have 100% clarity on it. And if there's anything you don't like, we can then change it. What we'll also do is we can get you straight into our community group on Facebook today. We can get you logged into our app today. And we can get you our bundles of all the nutrition guides straight away. And if you also give me your t-shirt size, I can send you out some of our branded merchandise straight away. So the initial process is we would get you started. You'd have the onboarding call. That roughly take 48 hours. So we could have you set up to go for Monday, if that works. And then we can get you ripping it from there. Any questions on that? So like you're actually asking them, do you want to start? Like, when would you like to start? This is what the next steps look like, rather than just blankly staring into the camera, which is incredibly awkward and then also increases the sales resistance. I'm deadly serious when I say using these 5 checkpoints on our next sales call would change the game completely. None of it's theory. It's literally the exact structure I've used now for over 7 years. It's the reason I scaled my online fitness business to well over 8 figures, and the same reason why I've helped transform and change the lives of over 18,000 clients. Oh, and if you're wondering how the hell I managed to do that, then you might want to check out this video next, because what I learned from that will completely blow your mind.